Are we all ready? Is everybody ready? It's 6 o'clock, according to our phones. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We've approved the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda.
So move. Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, let's say Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next up, number 4, public comment. If you have public comment, please do so at this time.
Brad Richards, I live here in Clarinda. Todd, I'm going to be speaking to you. Last week I asked you to go back and look at the minutes, and what I did is I pulled up the minutes the agenda from November 2nd. Item number 6, discuss/action Iowa Public Information Board Advisory Opinion 23AO.007 on editing meeting minutes before publishing with Erica Exley. Okay, so then I pulled up the minutes. I got a copy of the amended minutes that you guys amended. Okay, in those amended minutes, excuse me, had it right here. Okay. Excuse me. Erica Exley from the Iowa Public Information Board spoke about the advisory opinion that was requested from her office. These are her words. That is the only thing that's left in the minutes that you amended. Stop right there. Excuse me, my computer's trying to talk to my hearing aids. What she went on to say was, her office has authority over Iowa Code sections 21 and 22, which is, we've discussed that numerous times. The minutes need to include the date, time, place, members present, the actions taken at each meeting, and the results of each vote taken with enough information sufficient to indicate the vote of each member present. Under Chapter 331 of the Iowa Code, the minutes all should include the text and motions, resolutions, etc. Eckley said that there was questions asked if it is normal for an elected county supervisor to review and edit the meeting's minutes before publishing. The IPIB's advice is that it's the responsibility of every board supervisor to ensure the minutes accurately reflect what was happening at the board, and it is the board's responsibility to amend inaccurate minutes. What I'm asking, what I asked last week, all of this stuff that you guys crossed out and then passed on a 2-to-1, and there's numerous things. We're talking about the wind ordinance and things that were very pertaining. You hadn't talked to the county attorney, and you guys were going to do this and going to do that. All stricken. Excuse me, I'm talking to Tony.
Yeah.
All of that was stricken, and I'm asking what was inaccurate, because you guys struck it out. And if you're striking out everything that she said, then why are we even having these issues with minutes?
Yeah, no, I think the point that we were trying to get to was getting all the discussion taken out. So when we discuss...
But she didn't say take out the discussions. She never once said that.
But that's what we've been trying to...
Take out inaccurate information.
Right, I agree.
What was inaccurate that was
nothing,
in the
nothing.
minutes?
I mean, it was all discussion that was had, but it doesn't need to be in there. It's not required to be in there.
That's also, did you read the whole opinion? I got it right here. I could read more of what you're talking about. They also, when you're done, I'd like to respond to this.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but what we voted on and what we've done in the past is, we wanted just the motions and the votes.
I understand that's what you said, but that's not covering what and why decisions are being made. You guys left out a ton of information, and I would like you guys, when you do the striking and do the voting, make a public record to those of us that are here what is incorrect that you are striking from the record. I think that's only fair because that's what she said. You guys can amend the minutes by striking what was inaccurate.
Okay.
She doesn't say because it was a discussion, because who said what.
She actually
said
did.
it has to be inaccurate.
So she also said it doesn't need to be a novel and narrated.
I understand that.
So, I mean, so we've been trying to limit it to just the facts. And there's lots of times we have good discussion and I might make a good point, but I take it out of the minutes just because it's discussion.
And
And it, I mean,
Then take that-
it's
take-
not like I'm just doing.
take that part out of the minutes then, if it's inaccurate.
No.
You guys need to just stick with what's inaccurate, strike it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll respond to that, Bradley, whether you want to that comment. In this opinion, which I hope you read the whole thing, you quoted part of it, she goes in great detail about what shouldn't be in the minutes, in the factual permanent record. And just because a statement is made in a meeting that is true, it was made in a meeting, just because that's true, if you don't have all the statements, it's not objective account of the meeting. You have a partial account, which in the opinion you're quoting from, it says, minutes should not include partial commentary or editorial additions. Including these items in minutes causes unnecessary issues such as the one addressed in this opinion in which the supervisor feels compelled to revise the minutes to address quotes or commentary. You have commentary quotes. You don't have the complete thing. It also said, as best practice, the Iowa League of Cities recommends providing the legally required content in the minutes and enough additional information to be historical and functionally valued without being too lengthy. It recommends providing a factual accounting that ensures the editorial remarks are omitted. Choosing which comments to include or exclude or how comments are phrased, whether intentional or not, is editorializing the minutes. This creates minutes that are not objective and factual and instead causes issues of misunderstanding and inaccuracies.
Read that back one more time, please.
Choosing which comments to include or exclude
Which
or...
is what exactly you and Todd are doing, choosing what comments to keep and not keep.
But
But,
That's exactly what
but it's all comments.
It's saying all
I mean,
comments
all
should not be
comments.
there.
We're not choosing to leave like Jacob's comments in or Judy's comments in or my
Right.
comments in.
It's
We're striking all comments.
Information so that
So-
people don't know what's going on at this board unless they show up.
No.
it's also on video and audio, and there's a newspaper and 2 radio stations, and the minutes are not partial facts that aren't complete. And I can go through, read the whole thing. It talks about that. Nobody can transcribe the entire meeting without doing a transcription. If you're just keeping minutes as a clerk does, you cannot give every word. So they will not be objective. And you can tilt and pitch. What does matter, which you read from code, is the motions and resolutions and the wording, and then we vote. And if we vote yes or we vote no on a motion, then it tells everyone what happened. The building of how we get there can be all kinds of things. You could say one direction and then vote another. So please read the whole thing and not just take cutting and pasting from that. She came here and clearly said what she thought, and I wish she'd have been here. Now you could ask her yourself and say her advice as whether you should leave commentary, discussion in the minutes. They do not belong in the minutes. It is biased. You can watch the whole meeting and watch all the discussion. That'd be great. And I myself have fought for that to be on video and to be on YouTube, and did it for a year on my own. Uploaded it to YouTube on my own. When this board that I sat on before Todd and Judy here voted to turn it off. So that's that. Please read the whole opinion. This opinion backs up what we've been trying to do since January.
You just said advice. This was her advice. This was not a legal opinion. She said, what she said was, it pertains to chapter 21 and 22, which it pertains to the open meetings law, not the minutes. And it's advice on her part.
It is the opinion that stands. She was giving her view on the opinion that is stand and passed by her board for the whole entire state of Iowa, all 99 counties, for all boards minutes, whether the supervisors, city councils, school boards. Please read it. We had her come down here.
Advice, and she doesn't say you can't put more in the minutes. She said there are certain things that have to be in the minutes, but she did not say you can't put more in the minutes.
She advised to be objective. You must not have these other things, or you have minutes that cause this problem from, was it Boone County or wherever, they had this problem because they had commentary in there and it wasn't complete. That's what caused this. And we can have her come on again if we need to, and you guys can ask her all the questions you want. And she is the director for the entire state of Iowa, the director. for who handles minutes for every meeting that happens in Iowa. So
Not minutes, open meetings law.
21 and 22.
IPIB is open meetings law, it's not minutes.
when we got in trouble for our minutes not meeting Iowa code, who were we turned into?
It is not, that wasn't, the original IPIB complaint was because it was an open meetings violation because an agenda was not posted.
And then what happened?
No, then somebody else brought in minutes.
Who did?
You did.
I did not. We turned in minutes.
Nobody else brought minutes in
Oh,
but
let's-
you, Jacob.
Okay, let's clarify that. Carl's here. We sent the minutes as our evidence for what happened.
You sent it in.
That is our evidence.
That's
What we
minutes.
did.
Her dealings were with the open meetings law, the violation of an agenda that was
Yeah.
not posted for an open meeting.
Yes, and then
It had nothing to do with the minutes until you sent them to her.
and then when
Nothing.
okay, and then when she's reviewed our minutes as our evidence from those two meetings that was talked about.
You know, we're not
I'm
gonna-
going to finish my statement, please. She then said our minutes didn't meet Iowa code, and then she filed the complaint against Page County and our minutes not meeting Iowa code. And then
No, she did not file anything.
it was, yes, there's,
No, she did not file anything against us.
we
And
had,
then the complaint was withdrawn, so it died.
we'll read the complaint next week. I can.
No, we don't even need to go into it
I will.
because we have wasted so much time and money on minutes. We just need to just leave it alone. We'll just
No.
keep voting 2-1.
No, we can read it. We can have her come back.
We
and
will
say what it
keep
was.
voting 2-1, however it is.
We can ask Erica to come back and clear this up, because we want the facts, we want to be transparent. Do you have something, Lon?
Yeah. On public comment, I want to come out and thank the board for approving the referendum that passed for the jail to go to the referendum, to go to a vote of the people. I want to thank this board for that. I also want to thank the previous board, of which Jacob was a member of, for allowing us the opportunity to work with Samuel's group during that. I think they helped tremendously get us to the point
Yes.
we needed to be. And I just want to publicly say thank you to both boards for allowing that to go through. It was time, and the people spoke, and I'm glad that we had a good turnout. Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Lon. Anything else? You got another comment? Okay, if we don't have more public comments, we'll go on to the engineer update, and our engineer's not here tonight. And I talked to him on the phone, and he said he sent out our updates. We got that, and he did say one of the most important parts maybe to make an announcement was that the bridge on 190th, up behind the Audis, is scheduled to close Monday, November 20th, this coming Monday. The detours are Ironwood, 170th Street, and K Avenue, to get around that. We all have the update, what's going on. Is there any other comments to that? It'll be closed for several weeks while they work on that bridge.
He announced that last week,
Yeah,
so, yeah.
he just said to remind everybody it's coming Monday. So, if there's nothing else on the engineer update, anything else? We're ready for the seatbelt restraint policy guidelines. We had this has to be on the agenda, and then I talked to JD about that also, and he's sent us his policy, and I don't know if I've seen the new policy. Do we have it?
It's on your desk.
Yep, the
This
new
is the
one,
one?
yeah, they gave us the new one.
Well, he's wanting to review both, see the differences and what,
Can we table this till next week?
I'm fine with that. He bring that in, because he kind of would like to have an input on that.
Yeah.
You good with that? Everybody good?
Yep.
Just put it on next week's
Okay,
agenda.
let's table that for next week.
Now, while we're speaking about next week,
What?
so that's Thanksgiving week.
Right.
So did we decide, since we'll have the canvas on Tuesday,
Can we just have the
do
meeting?
we want to just have a meeting then as well during that time?
I would say we have the canvas
Or-
at 9 and just follow it with the meeting, yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Is that okay?
That's
Yep.
good with me. Okay,
Good.
got that solved.
Yep.
Okay, we'll do that. All right, next up on the agenda is the Samuels Group to discuss the next step of the jail project.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Greg Wild with the Samuels Group. You probably recognize my face. I've been in this fine county a fair amount in the last 6 months, and we're delighted to be back. I will echo Lyle's thanks and congratulations to the board and also to the taxpayers and patrons in the county. I think it shows a great deal of support and forward thinking. So what we'd like to do tonight is to just walk through and discuss some of the next steps that will likely be required to make that proposed jail facility a reality in the near future. There are lots of things that need to happen in a relatively short amount of time. Confirmation that the site location of the proposed jail down in the county farm is still the site. Last we discussed this, I think that site was 100% unanimous that that's where we'd like to put it. However, there are many things that we look at that site. Topographic map, soils, geotech, utilities, all the things that will go into the pre-construction estimation of what needs to happen next. However, before we get too far down that path, what we'd like to do is propose that the Samuels Group continues down this effort with Page County and the Board of Supervisors and the Sheriff's Department as your construction manager. In other words, handling all the details and guiding the pre-construction, construction, and actual occupancy of this new structure as we begin to move forward. The other thing that we will propose, and we did not bring a contract for you to sign or anything like that. We'd like to have this actually be a conversation and discussion. But the other part of that is that we would propose a design team, architecture and engineering firm that we have worked with in the past. It's a separate firm, but we have done many projects together to help with the design effort and pull all the construction documents necessary to actually bid and build this new jail facility and law enforcement center. The firm that we are proposing recommending is Venture Architects. Their office is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We have jointly worked on more than $500 million worth of detention facilities with this firm. They are very much like us. They are open, they are transparent, they are owner-driven, and that's one of the reasons why we would make that recommendation.
What was that name again?
It's called Venture Architects, and in fact, I have some propaganda that I will give to each of you.
Thank you.
They asked me to share with you, and should answer many of your questions. The other thing that I will also add is our last cost estimate and our last floor plan, just so you have a reference of that. And you'll recall that I kind of kept a cover over the floor plan just so that that floor plan is not secret, but it's also, as we've discussed, not front and center in the public domain. So, questions that you might have of us at this point?
So when does we pick an architect firm, what stage is that at? Because we want to probably put that out to some kind of a bid. When we did that with the windows, Farnsworth was hands down better than whoever, I don't remember the other outfit. I mean, way better. Mm-hmm. And they've done a good job. And they might want to be considered in this as a bid. When do we do that?
You can choose to do that at any point. I will also let you know that timing is of the essence. Obviously, if you're going to do that, you want to do it quickly, so that can be a consideration to get on down the path as quickly as possible. You'll also want to make sure that they have the capacity to respond and get started immediately, and that's one of the reasons why we are recommending that Venture be considered for that design team. So.
Well, on the windows, it saved a lot of money, and on this scale, $16 million if somebody comes in here. I did talk to them, and there's others that they've built jails, so that's not uncommon.
Yeah.
So, but when, so we need to do this the next couple of weeks, month, what's the,
I would say the sooner the better, Jacob. So.
we need to reach out to architects that counties work for and let them, or get some, put a bid out. It's a big project.
We don't just pick any architect, we pick architects that work on jails.
Right. And there's,
So one of the things you want to do is make sure that if we're going to have other architects come in here, that they're qualified to do the work.
Right,
well, I'm sure, yeah.
exactly.
So we've worked with a number of firms in Iowa. We've worked with Farnsworth. They've actually worked with Venture Architects. That's who did Dallas, was both of those two firms. Well, the reason we went to Venture was just the relationship that we have with them. That's what they do. They don't do hospitals. They don't do other projects. They do jails. And so the efficiencies and the knowledge comes with them. When they worked with Farnsworth, they were the actual jail consultants. So they designed the entire jail at Dallas, and then the local architect finished the drawings. So we were just simply bringing them to the table because we felt they could do they're more than capable of doing the whole thing. So that was why we were bringing them as a recommendation.
It's been a while, but when we were starting this jail thing a couple of years ago, we had several architects come in there, several.
You sure
And
did.
we did a bunch of them, and so, and you were one of them, I think, or one of the planners. And I can't remember, I'd have to go back and look at it, but there was several of them, they all had different fees and schedules, and they were all jail architects. So do our due diligence, we should probably go back and look at that and at least check it out. But you're recommending this Venture Architect.
Yeah, we will.
I firmly believe that we need to stick with the Samuels Group for our construction management, and handling that and moving forward.
If you were to go about looking for an architect, the best way to do that, if you don't want to go with this particular firm or you want to check it out, would be really to put a request for qualification out there. It should be written document requesting information from them. And so, as a construction manager, that would be one of our tasks,
Right.
putting something like that together.
And the manager, you know, who's the manager, we choose you or whoever, those people came through too, and they all had different fees and schedules. And I remember asking you, would you bid this? Would we get competitive? And you said yes. Absolutely. So we want to make sure we're bidding this, and, you know, we'd like to give you first shot, like the guy that's been renting the farm gets first shot, but we want to bid this and make sure we're competitive to do what we can do. So I remember talking about that, it's been a couple of years ago, and you said you would be open to bid and be competitive on this. So I'd like to at least open the door and look into it. Now, you guys have helped us, and we take that serious, but.
Who's responsible for all, like you talked about the soil and all the area site, mapping and all that stuff? Would that be something you guys would do, or do we need to work on getting people to do that?
No, you put your team together and your
And
team
they
does
do
it for
it,
you.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The big thing is your time frame. So if you recall, when we put the budgets together on this, our goal was we need to be in the ground this coming construction season. To have the capacity to design it. If you recall, we did the design. We have chosen to step away from that design simply because as a construction manager, we just don't want a conflict of interest. We don't want people's perception of we designed it and we constructed it. We simply wanted to have a third party involved in that. But time is of the essence, because if you miss that construction season, that's another year of inflation.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at construction management firms or however you go about doing this, the one thing the Samuels Group has on everyone else is our skin's on the line. We're the ones that told you it was $16.7 million is what your budget should be, right?
Yeah.
Another firm may come in and say, yeah, we can do that. But if they don't reach that 16.7, whose issue is it then? And so that's something I would seriously consider in regards to what fees are. I think you get what you pay for. Anybody can design a jail. There's lots of examples out there of designs that didn't go very well.
Right.
You want experts that know what they're doing when it comes to this. You don't want somebody that's not done it or they've done one. That's the same with your construction managers. You can hire anybody to build jail. It's how you go about doing it, and is it the right way to do it in the end? And that's why you guys hired us to begin with.
Is that additional contracting then if we go with Venture or another architect, we're gonna have to pay more fees or
So the fees are included in your overall.
overall, that's
referendum.
that first one?
That's
Okay.
that's why we brought that estimate for you, so
Okay.
you can see that they're there. And again, those were budgets, right? So now it's a matter of working inside of that budget.
So, and then also then if we switch, let's say we didn't go with Venture for the design, somebody else could come in and charge us more for redesign, they could design something different, or would they follow your plans?
That was why we brought them, is that we knew that they would follow our plan.
Okay.
So
What is their fee, 8%, like we have written here, is that what it is?
it would not exceed that. It would
Not
be a
exceed.
matter of them giving us a fee proposal.
We
That's
saw
just-
several of these, it's been a couple years ago, you guys weren't here, and they were all over the map, just like the window project. And how hungry people were, they could be real professional but want work, just like anything, and could have a lot less fees, and it would amount to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe $1 million, some of these things, over the whole project.
Typically, though, I would say that most firms are going to be pretty comparable. You may save 1%, but all it takes is one misstep and that's gone. You have the right to negotiate with construction managers, you have the right to negotiate with your architectural partners. What I would do is, I'd probably go back to that because there was a reason why you picked the Sammons Group to begin with. To jump off that horse and jump on another one at this stage, probably not, I wouldn't recommend that. And I'd also be I'd scrutinize my architects. And that's why we're doing what we're doing tonight. But getting that construction season, it has to happen, period. If you miss that date, on your estimate, and it's public knowledge, we put that inflationary factor in there to cover for next year's construction season. If we miss that, that's another 4 to 5% on top of the number, and we don't have that option. So we have to build it within the referendum dollars.
Having been through the restoration of the courthouse and going through, we had architects coming out of the woodwork. And not all of them were viable or good architects. And so I think we've placed our trust in you, and my opinion is that we need to continue with you and have you be the construction managers and work with the company that you have worked with on this in the future, or in the past, and know where they're going to be.
Well,
I know we need to be fiscally responsible, and I think we are, and you've built it into the cost of what you've done. So I think we need to follow that lead.
I agree with what you're saying, you don't want to hire somebody that's not in the game, doesn't know what's going on. I understand that, but I also agree with what you're saying about fiscally responsible. I mean, you're all a business trying to make money like all of us, and so if we just blindly say yes to whatever, we gotta be careful, we wanna make sure we've looked at things. So, even though, not saying you won't do a good job, we just have to make sure we're doing our due diligence here.
No, you have the right to do whatever you would like to
And on
do.
negotiating, I mean, we can negotiate with you before we even start, I mean, if you wanna do this. Because you've got stake in this now, you would want to negotiate, I would think, so.
Well, the reality is everything still needs to be bid out. So this is, what you're doing is you're hiring your consultants to move forward. Everything else still has to be competitively bid in the marketplace under Iowa bid standard and under the chapter. So
does architect have to be bid or not? Is that part?
no,
It does not, it's a professional service.
So the architect and then the
And the construction
management,
manager.
that is our decision, then the rest is all bid.
That's correct,
Okay, okay.
if you choose to do that.
So,
Part of the reason that we're suggesting and would like to move forward as a construction manager is to not miss
season,
this season, and also to not miss the opportunity to get some of the site work done that we know is absolutely essential.
I understand that.
So,
Let's be quick.
really quick. The other thing is you want to make sure that we get our finance side of this together.
Exactly.
So that you understand where to buy or when to sell bonds.
Yep.
That'd be a matter of working with Spear. But the first thing they're gonna ask you is, when are you gonna need the cash? And so one of the things as a construction manager we do is put together your cash flow. And so that we understand and project when we're gonna need dollars. And then Spear will go out and will give you recommendations as to when you should sell your obligation bond, or whether you should do it in 2 steps or in 1 step. They're also watching what's going on with the government and the cost of what those bonds would be. So getting them involved, that would be our next step, would be to work with them and provide them with some type of cash flow analysis so they understand when those funds are going to be needed. But that's a pretty critical next step for you from a county perspective, is maximizing that sale.
So what's our next step? Do we need to sign papers with you to start moving this forward?
We would, depending on the direction that you go, our next step would be to put together an AIA contract. It's called an AIA 133. It's a construction manager, or excuse me, 132, I think it is. Have it reviewed by corp counsel so that you understand what you're getting into. It's a pretty basic architectural contract and a construction manager contract, but having corp counsel look at that is prudent. We would put that together. We would have our fees outlined in it. You know exactly what you're paying for. It goes through and explains the responsibilities, the same as group. It explains the responsibilities of the architect. But the big thing is getting those contracts locked and put in place so that insurance can be provided, which with an architect, you can have their errors and omissions and professional liability, just like you would have with the same as group in the construction management. But you have your professionals secured under contract, insurances in place. That way, as you move forward, they're responsible for that process.
We can have you as the contract or the construction manager, and still, if we decided somebody different than Venture, you would still be the construction manager.
Yeah, we would put together, if that's the direction you would go, I would suggest figuring your construction management solution out, and then use that firm to help write the request for qualification or the request for proposal for architectural firms and help run that through. We've done that with several of our county clients. The last one I did, I think, was with Dubuque County. We did that for them. So.
Okay, so we need to do that first and then go to looking for architects. And we want to try to use the one you're using, but maybe get us some fees out there. Maybe we negotiate with them a little bit. So we can negotiate and get this done. So now Tuesday's our next meeting, which is really quick, but we can.
Yeah, so I don't know if this AIA 132 is, I guess, sounds like our first step is to get that
And hire our
signed.
management. Have to hire our management.
Right.
Yeah. So can you have that to us next Tuesday?
We could have you contract. We can send you a sample if you would like. Before that, that corp counsel could start reviewing, and I don't know what their capacity is, but having them take a look at the language in that.
Okay.
We're hitting.
Yeah, that would.
Having messages online that the audio is not working at all. I don't know.
It's because there's 2 people at the microphone, I think.
And
So I
online.
think, yeah. No, I think you're not getting close enough to it, probably.
Can you hear the board
To hear,
speak?
yeah.
Can the public hear the board speak?
Yeah. But you could also evaluate the architects if we chose.
We would actually be a participant in that.
Yes, I think that would be very wise since.
The first step is hire a manager, and then
Yes,
second step, look at architects.
yes.
Okay.
But
Well, then
it shouldn't be we shouldn't be the ones, because we don't know enough about it to do the architect thing. And I can tell you that.
You could put
Maybe look, get what we need put out there and see if there's bunches of them. See if some reputable architects that built jails will give us some bids, and maybe if nothing else, it holds who we want accountable to their bid.
Yep.
If they want the job.
Yep,
I
you
mean,
could
it's
do
just like
that.
bidding anything.
We would help you define when this time period would be,
which then helps the architectural firms out there see if their capacity will match up with the expectation of the project. So,
Okay. Step one is go for the management.
I would
construction
like to put
management.
them on, put the agreement, the contract, for the construction management with Samuel's Group on the agenda for next Tuesday.
I like that.
So we can get this process started.
So what is your fee? Your fee is 3%? Not to exceed 3%. And with the wild inflation, I know everything costs more to drive down here because gas is a little bit higher, but I had some constituents actually bring this up to me, a very good point. When a jail a few years ago was 8 million and now it's 12 million or whatever, 15 million, 10 million, it's drastically went up. And 3% of that, just like selling farmland at $1,000 an acre versus $10,000 an acre, that auctioneer fee has been negotiated a lot more because there's a lot more money on the line. The material cost going up has caused there to be a massive amount of more fees to doing
I
the
guess
construction management. Almost doubling.
Jacob, you've worked with us for several years now. Our fee is based off the referendum number. My reputation and the company's reputation is we're going to build this facility for that dollar amount. So we will do everything in our power to make sure that that number stays that number, or less. If you recall, if you look at your budget, you have inflationary factor in there, you have, we also have our contingencies in there. The goal is to bring it in at that number or below. So if it goes lower than that, our fee is actually lower than that, right?
Right.
So that's how we approach all of our projects. Like I said, you've known us for a couple of years here, you know what we're about. You also looked at other firms and you selected us for a reason. And there was probably a list of references there from other counties that we've done work with in the state of Iowa and throughout the Midwest. So we would ask for your trust in that. And we put a very competitive fee on here out of the gate and intend on remaining with that. To see a project escalate, it's a referendum. You made a promise to the taxpayers made a promise to pay for it. That's what we have to build this facility for.
Jacob, I'll also mention one more thing, and that is the pricing has gone up a lot, but also the risk has gone up quite a bit. So as Sid had mentioned, you're at $16.5 million. It's not an $8 million project, it's substantially double that. So if there's a risk factor to bring that project in at that $16.7 million figure. So.
Any questions on this?
No.
Well, I guess we need to have a sample or have a contract to look at and look at some different fees and things and look at it Tuesday, I guess. It's gonna be pretty soon.
Carl, will you have time to look at that before Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay.
So put that together and we'll look at that step one.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming down here.
You bet.
Yeah, thank
Nice
you.
to see everybody.
Okay. That done. Next item on the agenda is the wind ordinance draft. Carl's here. Find my papers.
Basically, I've emailed out, I think earlier this week, some more corrections and additions. And so there should be two documents. One is the proposed ordinance that amends individual things. Then the other one is basically a copy of 2019-2 with strikes and highlighted things, so you can see it kind of in the form from A to Z, beginning to end. I haven't heard any response as far as email wise for comments on it, so I assume the stuff that you've sent me that I've put into this form meets what you guys want for the ordinance.
Yes, we,
Yeah, so far I thought it looked really good.
There was one that Jacob caught that I hadn't got into the full document that was in the actual ordinance
Right.
amending, so I got that in. I think that was FAA lighting issues.
Right.
And then I think something I sent you said that was more road, or not, decommissioning, maybe.
Well, I had a question about that, and I think
Okay.
I emailed off to everyone, but since I'm here in person, you sent me a copy of it's basically a separate ordinance, I think, out of Madison County.
Yeah, I think I just copied
That
it.
was, I don't remember the name of it, but basically it had to do with, disposal of construction materials. So I don't know that it was necessarily a decommissioning, but parts of it would fit in decommissioning,
Yeah,
but parts of it would seem to fit into construction process, how you dispose of crates, various materials.
well, the one thing I was thinking of was that if they, let's say they replace a generator on it.
Right.
And they've got the old generator sitting there. And instead of just letting it sit outside somewhere, they need to make sure that that's getting disposed of in a timely fashion. Or if a blade needs replaced and they lay the old blade down on.
And that's why it seemed to me it might make more sense to more or less adopt wholesale as a separate ordinance rather than trying to shoehorn this into various spots in the wax
Okay.
ordinance.
I read, when you sent that email, I read over the Madison County ordinance. I just went and read it this afternoon, and they have a lot of enforcement and things built into it and ways they enforce and notify the public and things.
And you're talking about the separate.
The whole wind
disposal?
ordinance, just their whole ordinance.
Oh,
I
I
just
haven't
kind
got
of,
their whole ordinance.
because pieces and parts come from it, because it was very, very, very organized, very, a lot of depth to it, so. We've tried to take pieces and parts and things and ideas we talked about, insert it into this, and, we're close. I mean, some of our enforcements here. That's a question from a legal standpoint. When we put these rules in place to enforce them, what is the enforcement?
I don't know what enforcement.
Well, on
mechanisms,
like-
a particular one.
I guess as far as if they don't abide by our rules, and their project they wouldn't get a permit. I guess that's part of it. They wouldn't get a permit, but afterwards, if they,
Depends on which portion of it you're talking about.
well, if they.
Road use has some
Right.
built-in
Money.
enforcement.
Yeah.
I think the disposal or decommissioning they have to set aside funds,
Third parties, that's
real money.
Real money,
Rather than
yeah.
just promise. And so there's those ways of enforcing that. I think the thing that stands out to me in the one that Todd forwarded to me regarding construction material disposal was there were civil penalties put in place in that. So, they would accrue, I think, day by day,
Day
maybe.
by day or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I can't remember exactly what the wording was,
So-
but yeah.
But that's something for you guys to kind of explore as folks making policy on
The other
this.
thing that I did find, like, we were kind of talking last week, we were talking about, I think different kind of penalties and things like that, but then, one other part that's in that Madison County, wind ordinance is basically, payment for investigating complaints or complaints being filed. And basically, the wind company would actually have a $25,000 escrow account that would go to pay investigators or pay for investigations into misdeeds or complaints.
Did they specify who would do the investigation?
No, it does not say, but that money would be used to either pay for a third party or whoever was gonna be the investigator. And once that's below 10,000, they would notify the wind company that was in charge or oversaw the wind project. And they would have to bump that back up to 25,000 within so many days, 14 days, I guess.
I think the studies was on
Um,
sound and shadow flicker. was
shadow
one of them.
flicker.
So you have to have somebody come out to do a study to tell you if the sound is,
Some engineering folks or
right,
something.
and it had to be a third party. And it
I
costs
didn't-
money, to do that.
I didn't know if they maybe had their engineering folks do that, county engineer.
Yeah, and then the other part of that was we talked about liability insurance.
Yeah.
And they had
I saw that.
another one in here that, was in their liability, and I had it highlighted here. And it basically, says the applicant or developer, the owner, project shall maintain a current general liability policy covering bodily injury and property damage with limits
of at least $5 million per occurrence and $20 million in aggregate. The applicant and developer of the project shall maintain this policy for the lifetime of the project.
We have that section in ours, and I saw that too.
Okay.
We've been wondering about numbers, what to put in here, because these don't seem very high for such a massive amount of liability they would have. This, on our farm policies, we get several $1 million, so this doesn't seem high enough. We've been talking about
You didn't
that.
think 5 or 20 million? was
I think
high?
5 sounds a lot better. I'm saying the
Well-
3 to 6 we had.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
So I
5 million per occurrence.
Yeah, I
right.
think that's fine. I think that makes more sense.
So if
So,
I'm understanding this correctly, these are additional things you want to put.
well, all we
into
do
this.
is change the wording of we have
Okay.
that section. We have
Okay.
liability
Yeah, and
insurance.
I'll,
Can you forward that to me then?
absolutely,
Okay.
yep.
It's 3 and 6 right now, so we just changed that to 5 and 20. To make a little more coverage if there happened to be an issue. Let's see, and then in the road use agreement, I don't remember all the emails, but there's a line in there that says, the very first page of the road use agreement. It says at no time will security in excess of 500,000 per wind farm be required. The first paragraph, you see that? Of the
Just
road
a
use
moment.
agreement. The very first page.
Within ours.
Yeah, that road use agreement, the very first page here. You go down before it says now therefore, that sentence right before that. It says at no time will there be a security in excess of
Well,
500,000.
yes.
I think we were just talking about that as a board and asked you, John. You know, we were trying to decide what number to use, because in roads, that doesn't go very far. That doesn't go very far at all. 500,000 does very little in paving. So we talked about maybe just strike that line, because we don't know what the limit should be. It kind of depends on how big, what we're dealing with, so.
And one thing I did find in Cedar County, Iowa, they did one that said they're responsible for 130%
Yeah, I saw.
of the
those too
project.
In some counties,
Yeah, so they always go over the 100% to
Right.
cover,
better than you found it.
right, better, yeah, yeah,
Is that perhaps a JD question?
Maybe. So,
yeah, I mean, that might be something he could help us.
He would have a better handle on costs. of
Costs
repair.
and what,
on this not to exceed number, which is where you start, we go through this whole big thing of all this, how we fix the roads and how we're gonna do it, but the very first paragraph says not to exceed 500,000. Again, that's when we talk about paving roads, that doesn't go very far. So as
Strike
far as striking that line, it takes the limit off. Then if we come up with figures somewhere, we're not limited to this line in the first paragraph.
Okay,
So maybe you could strike that. And then. Now we had number 9, road use plan. You go to the third page. We added the section to provide for such expense, developer shall place an escrow account. Talking about,
yeah, and I left that blank.
yeah, we're
You guys
trying to find a
figure out
number.
what- Yeah,
And that's hard to know what number to use there, so. I don't know if we need to get wording or,
perhaps one solution to that is look at counties that had this development occur and what the worst case scenario was for them as far as repairing
pick
damage.
a number, worst
And
case
then-
scenario.
Yeah,
It could be so much per mile, and I thought about that. If they give us a map of all the miles they're gonna touch, they have to give us a map of where they're gonna drive, paved and gravel, and they will tell us ahead of time. So JD would put a cost per mile of each grade of A, B, C roads, that would tell us our number. I thought, it kind of give us a number.
Yeah.
Because if you have a really little project, they might not wanna if we put some great big number in there, it's not gonna be very accurate. If they have a great big project, lots of miles, we have more risk, so.
and I don't know, as far as like neighboring counties that have had this, Adams, Cass, Taylor.
I did have
I
an
don't-
Adams County supervisor call me a few weeks ago, I think about that, and they have had, he did talk to me about how they redo it when they come back to put new blades on and new generators, which they're doing right now up there. Have always been there a few years. Their agreement wasn't real tight on the coming back. And he says they were in big trouble. They had bridges, they broke things, and they weren't wanting to pay in certain ways. So and they were having to really be careful. So we might make sure, if you could look at the wording of coming back, make sure legally we have wording that this applies to
Like continuing repairs, maintenance.
maintenance,
Life
continued
of the
repair.
project.
Well, they have the
Or-
refurbishing, whatever they call it, work, because they come back every 3 years, they have to put new.
Yeah,
So just make sure we do have wording in there. He did call me and say, make sure your wording is affects
Have
the
they,
next time.
have they made any changes? in
They're, I don't know. He just told me they're encountering something they didn't see. When you write an ordinance, it's hard to see everything. You can't see the future. And he's seeing it now after the fact, so
I didn't know if they'd had a solution to that in that county.
I could ask him if they've changed some wording. Now
If
they're
they
trying-
do, can you forward that to me then?
Yes. But just try to have, I'll see if I can find that some wording that says this just applies to any refurbishing, anything like that, down the road, this road use. Anything in here, and it might already be in there, there's just a lot in there. Okay. That, I did see in the fines for if they don't take the designated haul route, that's on number 16. You left that blank because we added that. I did see some counties put $1,000.
well, yeah, I saw that too, and I think that would be,
Are we good with that? $1,000 fine? Is everybody good? So I say if we're good, maybe insert $1,000 on line 16,
Okay,
F. What is that? 4. Just put $1,000 in there. Now, if you go to, and I can't remember all the emails we've done, but while you're here, let's look at this, the very last page, what I have of the decommissioning, I think it's the very last page, the ordinance. Let's see. Number 7, I think, yeah, 7. The resources to pay for decommissioning and removal. We added some wording to that, you see that? Right after where our additions stop and it goes to the county may waive the financial assurance. It is a may, I don't know what we think about that. We're wanting that real money, there's estimates that are put in place to come up with this in a real bank. Do we need that section that says the county may waive the financial assurance requirement if the owner is a public utility? Because we're having somebody figure the cost, we'd like to have it in an actual bank. Do we need that wording? Does it do something? I think, let's look at it. Is it saying if they promise they have the wherewithal, then we can waive it? It kind of contradicts what we're doing right above it.
yeah,
I think it just gives the county the option of doing that if the project's subsequently owned by a public utility that's regulated by the utilities board. Doesn't mean the county has to, it just gives an option.
I would probably leave that in there.
It gives both sides up there,
Yep.
we're saying one. Okay, let's see, what else do I have here? Anybody else have anything? Did we get all our fines figured out?
I think so.
That one and the number 9. I might put dollars per mile in SJD or something. Okay. Well, on this, what do we not have done? I'd like to put this draft out for everybody to see. So we can start the hearing process after that. Is there any, what do we need to complete? Basically,
I just need to send you that stuff that.
Yeah, just send what we talked about tonight, I'll get that added in.
some dollars per mile. And I'll reach out and ask some questions about the future, and if in legal words, if you see in here that's already here, I can read it too. Or just make sure it covers refurbishing, so they have to follow this too. Okay, liability, go with all this. Then We have a meeting on Tuesday, which is pretty quick. If we get, what timeline want to do here, 'cause we're about done.
Yeah,
These couple things get inserted,
it depends on how much,
extra there is. If we get that inserted to see Tuesday, I mean, Thanksgiving,
Tomorrow's
next Thursday, so whatever.
pretty much out, because I've got magistrate court tomorrow.
Yeah,
And I'll be looking at this contract
Yeah,
Monday.
so if we skip, where are we at here? That starts in December. Good.
Well, it would,
Would it be the
would start on the 30th. Would be
Thursday?
Thursday, the 30th.
So we can shoot for that. If we can get everything emailed to you and get that in that draft, then maybe the 30th we post it.
Yeah, and basically it just needs to be considered and voted on at 2 or with the 3 meetings. You can shortcut that, but with this.
Might as well
I
just
think
do
you
it.
have
It's fine. Have all the hearings.
Yeah.
So hearings, if we want to do hearings, once we get to that point, we have
You're not
3
required to do public hearings, it's just
or whatever.
consider it, yeah.
We do whatever the most open thing is. So 3 separate meetings. If we do all 3, we will have a hearing and we will vote on at every meeting. Or how's that work?
A proposed ordinance or amendment shall be considered and voted on for passage at 2 meetings of the board prior to the meeting at which it is finally passed, unless a requirement is suspended by a recorded vote of not less than a majority, which is the shortcut.
Right.
So just 3 meetings.
And the 3 meetings, because we're getting time, it's 3 meetings, it's 3 more weeks. To be fair to everybody, we want to get our ordinance done. We've had a moratorium for a long time. So if we wanted to do, we could speed that up by just having them closer together. We could have some special meetings and get through this. And once we're done,
How long do you want to have the public input?
I don't know. It'd be nice to have a week or 2 to look at it. Now, we've been talking about it and,
Right.
for months and months, and months on this, every change we talked about. But I wanted to see it. If
yeah.
they have any ideas, give us their ideas and then before we start the hearing, we want to have all our ideas done before we start these hearings, so.
And we don't want to have to go back and change everything because it's
No.
public.
No, we want to
Yeah.
make sure it's done, so when we go into there. So if the 30th,
So if you post that on the 30th, then
well,
the next meeting would be the 7th, which can you make that the first public hearing? That meeting on the
well,
7th?
maybe, what about if we take these changes that we get? I mean, whenever you get them, send them to us, whenever we have these, we could post what we got right now for people to start looking at, I mean,
Right.
to help with that. We could send that in the solutions, whoever, just say, here's the draft, we're still working on it, here's a draft, start looking.
Yeah.
Maybe we do that, just
I
because,
think you probably want to have Carl go over one more time.
make sure it's
Yeah.
congruent.
Right, and I can do that via email to sort of shortcut the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
if
look
I have
at-
all the information I need, I can send it out. If there's any comments, yay or nay, send it back to me. I can make those changes or not, and we can go with what it is.
Yeah. Pretty much what we've talked about tonight, once we get that incorporated, I think we're good to start that, and let everybody look at it, they might, if they see something we've missed. One thing, I don't remember if we talked about this, I did have somebody call me on this too. The notifying the public that a project is being looked into, and that is in several ordinances, like, if somebody comes and starts thinking they're gonna do a project, they go ahead and let everybody know they're here, they aren't here operating where no one knows. Just let the public know. That's the one thing I forgot. So if there's some wording on that just says notify the public, we're looking at building a wind farm in Page County. Just some wording that makes that announcement. Are you guys all right with that? If it means it's in the ordinance?
But we won't know it until we're notified.
Right, won't they, they'd have to come here
It's
with
just
a
hearsay,
project, right?
basically, yeah.
Cause they can't really do anything until they would present a project,
What I'm saying is, when
And-
they get to the point of presenting a project,
right?
it's already all, the neighbors, and everybody doesn't even know. So whenever they're inquiring about a project, a lot of counties have, when they come in to start inquiring, you say, hey, guys, we're here in Page County. We're looking to build a project down the road. We're starting to talk to everybody about it. They have to make an announcement that they're coming. Otherwise,
Yeah, I would
they,
think they would come to the supervisor board and say, hey, we're specking out a potential project in the county, or that you don't think they would do
well,
that?
maybe they would, maybe they won't.
But if they don't, it's hearsay.
I think this was.
So I don't know how you can put it in an ordinance.
Yeah,
No, it
I
was they have to let everybody know they're going, it was in Madison County, it's in
Yeah.
several. They just have to make aware that they're coming here to inquire about bidding land, about looking at it. So I don't know, there's just some wording to that. I can look, I mean, it's in all those ordinances we keep reading, cause
I'll look at that and, or kind of, because I was thinking that was all after they had brought a project. I
Well,
guess, maybe
well,
that
after
was-
they do a project, then they have to tell.
Well, I
everybody
mean,
what
after
design.
they tell everybody. But,
Well,
I
look at
didn't
the
know
word, I
that
had
was
a call on that.
before.
So look at the wording on that, just to
Okay.
make people transparent, aware of what's going on. So that's an extra thing we'll look at, but other than that, let's put this together and we'll send you whatever we find on this information we talked about.
Okay.
Yep.
I'd say as soon as we have something put together, even if it's before our next meeting, we might post it up as a draft, so people can see it. And start looking at it.
Okay,
I'll get that stuff to you soon,
sounds like a plan.
very soon.
Okay, we're getting
Thank
really,
you.
really close.
Thanks.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
I think we're good, I think. Okay. Next item, Marty's here, I think, it's on my agenda.
And
Yes.
Marty, I'm gonna go ahead and, can I speak? real quick?
Certainly.
So, I think last week we were talking about the letter or email from Tim Whipple. I believe I sent that to you both.
Yes.
Just trying to clarify. I don't believe Tim was saying that we should not do a ordinance, but he was basically stating there's risks either way. If we do it, that we had to pause. I think some of the words that I had chosen possibly affected Montgomery County. And so, because they are kind of pausing based off of something I said, I think, and so.
But he basically
So,
did say that.
I mean, but I don't think he's telling us not to do it. He's just saying there's risks. If you
Yeah.
do it, you could potentially be sued.
Now,
Right,
and-
plus
but-
there's legal risks, there's financial risks.
And then as I went through that
Political,
more,
yeah.
and I asked him some more questions but he said, if we wanted to continue, we did need to sign a letter of engagement
Yeah.
before I talked to him anymore. So,
Yeah, because I'm thinking that the ka-ching, ka-ching
Ching.
already, yeah.
well, yeah, so.
So, yes,
And the thing was, if we don't do anything and it does pass, or they get the okay to do whatever they're gonna do with the pipeline, then we're kind of out of it. We won't be able to do anything.
but he also already
Because
has
it's too
something
late.
developed, right? So it
Um,
wouldn't be much for us to adopt that.
I asked him how much, I did talk to him, he said to do an ordinance, 5 to 10,000.
No, but what I'm saying, he already has developed one.
Okay,
I mean, it's already
so we really
developed.
didn't have to spend a lot of time on one.
I wouldn't
if-
think we would have to.
Okay.
No, I did in visiting on this, and maybe you know this, or not, maybe we talked about it before. Page County has zoning, right, we have zoning, and he said we need to look at our zoning, that's in place. Cause most of the time, in the ones he's read, it does affect pipelines, and they might not be adhering to that, but they will have to go to the zoning administrator. They're not choosing to adhere to that, but we need to research this, our own zoning in place and what it says. If it does not mention pipelines, there's something to that where, because it's not mentioned, they'd have to have a special exemption, which would have to go to the Board of Adjustment to get that. So other counties are trying that avenue because they already have it in place. They're not doing anything new, they already have it in place. But again, the courts are gonna have to decide whether or not we do have that right, even though we have one in place. If ours reads that way, if we have zoning and it reads the way he's saying all of them he's looked at have. So that's a question we could have that looked into to see just our own zoning that's already in place. I think it's put in place in 2008. Should ask Carl, is he still here? You still back there, Carl? Oh, we can maybe look at it, and he did say that if it doesn't mention it, that means that it's outside of the parameters and they have to have a special exemption, basically, which would have to go through the Board of Adjustment. Like a variance. So that was another avenue that we maybe don't need to pass an ordinance. And then if they got a special variance, the Board of Adjustment would be able to set backs on those things, would have to be up to them to set the variance. So But all of that hinges off of, again, this lawsuit with, does the board have the right? The way I understood it was, the pipeline company doesn't think we have the right to regulate it all.
Correct?
And several counties have gotten lawsuits saying we do.
Yes.
And several counties have their own zoning, and the several counties have passed new ordinances. And so there's lawsuits on both sides of that. So we need to review ours. We might have something in place
That would protect us
that would
already.
protect, as long as we have the power, which we won't find out until this court case is decided.
PHMSA, within the last 30 days, PHMSA has came out with a ruling that said that they do not cite a pipeline. And that's what Summit had been claiming or hanging their hat on, was that Summit, or was that PHMSA would cite the pipeline. PHMSA came out and said, no, we regulate all sorts of the industry, but we do not cite a pipeline. That's up to the local and the state governments to cite that. Now, I don't know what any judge is going to do, but it sounds to me like that puts a lot of credence behind county ordinances.
Which we have one. I think maybe we could look at, I just heard this afternoon, I was visiting. If our Board of Adjustment had right to discuss this or look into it, then we actually have something in place without even making a new ordinance.
How soon can you determine from the Board of Adjustment whether we have something in place or we do not?
Well,
We would just need to have our county engineer look at the zoning ordinance.
a county engineer, or attorney, and if we want to engage, we voted to hire him, but we never actually went any further. We just hired. I don't know what I told him to review the step. If we needed help on that, he could maybe give, a little hours worth of time to just see what exactly we have or don't have. But that is interesting to me, is if we have it in place to protect, if we have that right, then we don't have to even go any farther. We have the proper procedures, and they will be able to address setback. I mentioned the 400 feet from the house that they talked about last week, and that's too close. It's way too close.
How
So,
about 300?
yeah, 300 is worse. So I'm just saying, I just learned this afternoon, I think we need to research this, because it might be that we don't have to even spend the 5,000 or 10,000 to write an ordinance if we have in place. Our zoning applies to this, and our board will apply to it. We have a local board that can then, if we have the power, which I think we probably do, when it comes to time, they will be able to cite it. To say you have to move it or do something, we won't let you be that close.
Well, I hope so. There's some information that I've ran across that adds more credence and maybe more urgency to this. And you may already be aware of it, but I thought it would be interesting for you to hear this. And perhaps because of the urgency, we can move this along a little faster. As I said, this thing is 300 foot from a residence. And there's two more residences in Page County that are within 400 feet, just south of me there. They're not one-offs. It's just that Summit doesn't care. Additionally, our well, the way they've got it set up, is going to be 50 foot from this pipe. And you know what we've said about compressed CO2 and moisture. That forms carbonic acid. So we'd have a well full of poison water if that were to take place. Additionally, it has a detrimental effect on humans. And maybe you've never thought about this, but what percentage of our body is made up of water, moisture, or nasal membranes or vocal membranes and such? That same CO2 reacts with those membranes in our body and our cells and creates carbonic acid in our bodies. It creates carbonic acid in our lungs. That goes into our bloodstream, goes to the brain, goes to the heart. That's why you find individuals suffering from CO2 exposure, frothing at the mouth, vomiting, semi-unconscious, and eventually death. It's the same CO2 that causes the carbonic acid in a pipeline, will cause carbonic acid in a human body. That's why this is important.
Mhm.
And like I said, on our farm there, we're a zone 4, which basically we're in the kill zone. Another little added fact, a local real estate agent told me that because of the location of that pipeline to our residents, the desirability of our residents dropped by 50%, which is 50% drop in value. And the land will drop by 25% in value. Now, you might think that's a little drastic, but I will guarantee you, if you have one release in the upper Midwest and you kill crops, you have all sorts of confinement, chicken, hogs, and cattle, and you kill a number of livestock, let alone any humans that get damaged or killed, you'll see property values drop like a rock. People will be finally fully aware of the dangers of this stuff, but that's a little late at that point. Interesting too, you know, there's only 5,000 miles of CO2 pipeline in the United States. And PHMSA records all of the releases that happens, whether it's oil, natural gas, CO2. In a 10-year period from 2011 to 2021, there were 61 accidental releases of CO2. That amounts to one accident for every 82 miles of pipeline over a 10-year period. That's not what I'd call an impeccable record. Now, you don't hear much about it because most of those have been out in West Texas, sparsely populated areas of the United States. But they're putting this through what would be densely populated compared to the other areas of where it's been. So we've got to have something. We need some sort of an ordinance to protect the Page County residents and the families that live here. And I know someone's going to threaten to sue and they're going to rattle their cage and all this. But I guess my point of it is, are we scared of a lawsuit? Is that our major issue that we're worried about? Or are we worried about the people in the kill zone in our county? Which is the most important?
Our people are definitely most
Right.
important.
But talking to him today, that's what I said, the threat of a lawsuit, there's no reason to not do the right thing.
Right.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
totally understand that. I'm hoping that the ordinance we have in place, we figure it out here really quick, is our protection.
I do too.
And so we need, so that'd be faster than anything, so it's already there, we just know what we have and we stand, by it.
Yes.
Maybe we send a letter out, I think that's something else we talked about, once we figure that out, we send a letter to the pipeline company that says, hey, you've got to file for a permit, special exemption or whatever, variance, so let them know, we have this in
Right.
place, and here's your letter.
Yes.
So we've done our diligence and we're,
So if we got that in place, we're semi-golden.
so we'll see, I mean, we'll
Okay.
just this afternoon discuss this, so,
But the clock is ticking.
right.
Nothing will be done probably before the middle of January, but we don't know after that how soon the IUB will or will not act.
Right.
They have 6 weeks for the attorneys to submit briefs. Then they have another 2-3 weeks for the attorneys to submit rebuttal briefs and, you know, with the holidays and all that. So we're on a short time schedule right here. And if we could find something in the local laws, that would really speed things up.
Yeah. And
One other thing I'd like to ask you about, to hire an independent observer to observe them installing pipeline, if it comes to that. I believe you've already, in several boards ago, agreed to hire the firm that Summit Carbon uses. And that's a little bit like having the
right.
chicken or the fox guards the chicken
Right.
house.
That guy, when he come through, I'm trying to remember, I don't think we ever actually hired him.
Okay,
I
good.
think all that was said was, I don't remember, I think was, we would talk to him the time came, like we showed a positive
I don't remember ever retaining, we need to look at that.
I know Montgomery County has hired an independent associate out of Atlantic
Right.
to oversee the installation, to make sure that they're doing what they claim they're gonna do. And I would really urge you to do the same
That makes
thing.
a lot of sense. We can look into that, who they hired. And also, a lot of counties were using their county engineer, they were using local
Yeah,
people to oversee it, so.
they hired somebody out of Atlantic. I think I might know, but I don't wanna
So
state
we
that.
can look into that. No, it makes total sense.
Yeah. So, this is great if we can,
But we're gonna look at it and see, and we can put out the emails tomorrow and get people looking at it and figuring out what we have.
okay.
And then if we have it, then we can send a letter. To let them know.
And if you don't, it's like, Judy said, they've got an ordinance pre-written for several other counties. It shouldn't be too hard to tweak a couple things to make it work for this county.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I don't know what,
Don't need to reinvent the wheel.
yeah, no need to reinvent the wheel. And, if we go that route, get your, whatever committee it is that has to approve it first and get your couple of board approvals going, at least walk it up to the line. So that if need be, if this, Shelby County court case in January is fairly quick and you have a positive result, so that you can have a board meeting, make one quick pass and have an ordinance in place if need be, if this other avenue doesn't
Right.
come through. So, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm good with looking at that. So we'll see, we find out, maybe we'll know by Tuesday what we have in place. Okay. Well, we have board communication. One thing I have is next week's meeting. We got that figured out. Anybody have any communication?
No, I've got well, I still have a SWPCO meeting that's scheduled for Tuesday evening, 5:30. We were gonna have a, excuse me, a Board of Health meeting on Monday, but it was canceled. So they will reschedule one for December. That's all I have.
I had a Zoom on the opioid filing. I had one this morning on the SLFRF, which is ARPA money. And last night I went to the Shenandoah Education Awards at the middle school commons.
What was on that ARPA money stuff? What did you learn anything from that, what they're talking about?
Yeah, and it set deadlines and the report has to be filed next April. So I will file that, but, I'm trying to keep track and do the spreadsheet of what we have in
Okay.
ARPA funds left.
Email, that reminds me.
So we don't know right now. We have
Yeah.
still obligated, and we're still spending some, so
We have to finish.
the things that are obligated, and we've got to finish windows and things like that, so. Hopefully I'll have that before long, but anyway, yeah, the opioid thing has to be filed by December 1st, so I've got to figure that one out also, so.
Was that something that Richard was doing?
It was something that he insisted on handling himself, and now he's gone, so I've got to talk to Sam about it.
Somebody to,
I have to talk to Sam as well as the auditor's office to figure out what's been spent and what they're intending to spend it for,
Mhm.
so.
Did you see the email JD sent out about just looking into some of the bridges and different things, the ARPA stuff, just the
Right,
future,
but we
kind of
don't-
goes
but-
along with it, yeah.
I don't think we're gonna have that much left in ARPA funds to spend, so, it has to be obligated by December 31st of 24. And then has to be spent, by the next year, so, I don't think we'll have an issue with that. But because I don't think there's that much left, anyway.
Well, that spreadsheet we had a while back, you worked on, maybe,
Well, I've been keeping it up.
yeah.
So I haven't got it for the last couple of months. I noticed there were a couple of things this pay period, or this claim period that we had claims, so I'll get it all put together.
Okay, get that, maybe we'll look at it.
But we've got to wait until the windows, we're totally done with that and everything too, so.
Is there a guess on that? I don't know that, when they think,
I think they're pretty well done. I think they're just waiting for broken ones right now,
Ones that
I
are broken.
think. Yeah, the ones that are broken to replace.
Okay,
and get
so
those
maybe by
done.
the first of the year they'll be finished, maybe,
Oh, yeah, I think
I
it'll
would
be done
think,
before
yeah.
then.
all done
Yeah.
and finished, okay.
Yep.
That's coming pretty quick, the first of the year.
Yeah, I know, but these look great, so
They
all
do.
the windows look great.
Okay, any other communication on that? That's good to know.
I guess
And-
we've got blinds to work on too.
Yeah, well, and the other thing was the REAP thing.
Oh, the
we-
REAP
we
thing
both
that
got
John
back-
sent out, yeah, I ran some,
And,
copies of the code
Okay.
after I talked to him,
yeah.
or after I got the email that I did some copies of the code to see what, the committee members need to be and,
Do we find those committee members? Who does
No.
that?
well, it's basically, either the chair of the Board of Supervisors or designee and the chair of the County Conservation Board. Then somebody from the Soil and Water, School Board, that's the thing, and from the mayors, I don't know that we can ever
Kind of sounded like. you
get
had-
anything
kinda had
that
a-
big.
you
I
had
don't think you
meeting
want
and
one
you-
that big either.
Right, yeah,
So, yeah, I think it's just something you gotta work with, and I think as long as you have a committee, that's gonna be the most important thing for them, if they would come down and check. But yeah, I've got some different things that you can get a board way too big. So, yeah.
yeah, no. But, yeah, so if there's.
So you and I both
if-
volunteered to help, so
Yeah, if you
whatever.
need anything, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, so-
I know, I think I'm going to a thing in January up at the, State House, or at the Capitol for
The REAP
the
thing
REAP
that you
thing, yeah,
did,
the
yeah.
delegate thing,
Yeah.
yeah, so. But I just said I'd help
Yeah.
if you need me to, or you want me to,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
so whatever,
just let me know,
doesn't make any
Whatever
difference.
happens, we can figure it out.
Yep.
Willing to help.
so.
It sounds important. Okay. Well, the Christmas parade, I'm not gonna be in town that evening. Are you
Okay.
available or is Todd available to do the bathrooms?
I'll get the bathrooms.
Yeah, I'm out of town, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hate to miss it, but if
I'll
you've
handle the bathrooms.
got that taken care of, because they might need it, so. Okay. Anything else? Let's see, I think that's it. Next up, we have claims. I have an orange folder here.
I move that we approve the claims.
Got a motion on the claims?
Second,
Second. It's about done. Okay. Well, could we, roll call that, please, Kristen?
Mayor,
yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes. Okay, let's see one in there. Under.
Did I miss one?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I think we got it.
So we got.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Next up on the agenda, we have the minutes, approving the meeting minutes. Let's see here. We went over these. Over sometime here.
Did you make a couple of copies?
I did.
Mine's just one copy, but it got wet.
Look good.
You got one for Kristen?
If we pass them here. Okay, now. Let's see, look at this. Yeah. Looks the same down there. I see what, you can see this too, Judy, what Todd did. On the Tom Wagner section. Just kind of made it match the agenda item, just kind of made it match. And
I have reached out to him, but he hasn't called back, so.
here's what Todd did there, if you want to see that. Then on the next page, I would seem to match. So, I have, you see that, Todd? Entertain a motion. Or I can make a motion.
I will make a motion that we approve the amended minutes.
Why did I get a dead fly?
What is it?
A dead fly.
To meet the guidelines.
Oh,
We'll do
yeah.
I like,
Do we need to say that?
I
Okay.
think so.
All right, to meet the Iowa Public Information Board guidelines.
Okay. Got a motion, I'll second that. Can we roll call that, please?
Mayor,
Yes.
Holmes.
Yes.
Clark. No.
Okay. Next up is number 12, adjourn. A motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Got that done. Thanks for coming.